Welcome to Rowdy and Real with me, Sophie Shaw, hypnotherapist, Reiki Master Teacher, wellbeing coach, and slight loose cannon. I'll be sharing some life lessons and wisdom from the real world. If nothing else, it'll take your mind off your problems for a bit. And if we're really lucky, you might even hear something that helps you to make it better. So stick around for real talk, real growth, and some probable bad language. Let's dive in, shall we? Hi, love, and welcome to the inaugural episode of my podcast. I feel like we ought to have some sort of fanfare or something, like maybe Lady Gaga should start singing on the steps of the Seine. But in lieu of that, I shall just say hello, welcome, welcome. I am so very, very pleased to have you here. We're just going to spend some time together, and I'm going to chat about some of the things that I work with in my practice, and maybe there'll be some things in here to help you or make you laugh or start your day well or end your day well, whatever. I am glad you're here. So I thought we would kick off the first inaugural podcast episode with a blog post that was very popular, and it's what's the point of talking about it? I just thought that would be very apt. This came up because I realized that there's real confusion about whether or not we're supposed to talk about our problems. Because on the one hand, you're told you're not supposed to complain, you're supposed to think positively, and nobody likes a moaner. Like, you obviously don't want to be a bore and be the person who's the negative Nelly and always whinging about your problems. So no one likes a moaner, but everybody likes to moan. I mean, I do. It's a very British tradition. I'm sure it travels countries as well. You can admit it. Everyone likes to moan. You've got something that's on your mind. You like to get together with your friends, and you all have a moan and a complain. And so we also tell each other that a problem shared is a problem halved. So which are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to let it all out and talk about our feelings and be open? Or are we supposed to be stoic and silent and never complain and all of that? I think I'm going to be controversial here. The well-being industry has a lot to blame here, is a lot to blame. Because the law of attraction speaker will tell you that you should never mention or complain about your problems, because whatever you give your attention to, you will get more of that. And that's true. That is correct. On the other hand, if you are a traditional therapist, a psychotherapist, or a counselor, they will always recommend talking through your problems, talking through your issues fully with a therapist, with a trusted friend, or, somebody that is going to be helpful for you to talk to until you understand your issues. And the thing is, with a lot of traditional therapies, that can take months. It could even take years. I've known plenty of people who've come to see me who've been in therapy for literal years without ever kind of making any progress. So, you can see the confusion. What are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to talk about our problems? Or are we supposed to keep stum? I'm going to say, personally, that I like to fall somewhere between moaning and complaining and talking about your problems all the time and never saying anything about it and being stoic and positive. In case you can't tell, I'm putting real air quotes around that positive, because I do think that there is a lot of toxic positivity. Now, what I mean by toxic positivity is the kind of philosophy that says, never talk about your problems, never complain, because you'll get more of it. To me, personally, I just think that is a modern rebranding of a stiff upper lip that your parents or your grandparents will have grown up with, which is that it's not polite to talk about your problems. I mean, bollocks to that. Sorry. I just don't think it's healthy. I think it's very important to talk through your stuff, but it's really important to do it in the most helpful way, in a way that's going to be for a healing purpose. So, the thing is, whether you realize it or not, you are always talking about your problems. particularly if you don't talk about them out loud. You're rattling through it on a daily basis in your head. I guarantee, you're having arguments with yourself while you're driving the car, or, bitching about somebody who cut you up, or thinking, oh, I haven't got enough money to buy next week's shopping, or whatever it is. You are constantly going through it in your mind anyway. So you are already moaning and complaining all the time without realizing it, most of us. So there's only one point, really, in talking about it more, and that's if it helps you to release it. That's literally the only point in talking about it. Now, I know that sounds incredibly simplistic, and usually, when we kind of automatically go into complaining mode, we're not really conscious of why we're doing it. We're just doing it because, let's face it, it feels good. It feels good to have a moan and a whinge. So I'd like to offer you some guidance on how you can choose whether you should be talking about your stuff or not talking about your stuff before you get into your next rant. So the first thing to ask yourself is, who are you talking to? And that means, are you talking to a trusted friend? In other words, and I mean a real friend, somebody who is going to tell you the truth, not somebody who's just going to go, blow sunshine up your butt and tell you what you want to hear. Or are you just talking to somebody who is going to join you in a good moan? There's a lot of discretion around this, and it can be really difficult because, for example, right, now I just want to add a caveat here. I adore my mother. My mother is the best mother that anybody could ask for. However, I say this with enormous love, huge love. Just in case she's listening. She doesn't even know what a podcast is. If I feel pissed off or upset or like I want my mum, she's the first person I call to talk about my problems with. And yet I know she's not always the most helpful person for me to talk through my problems with, because she will join me in my upset. She will moan with me, and it doesn't always lead to a feeling afterwards of relief or release, or like I've solved something or got through something or been heard and understood. Sometimes it just leaves me feeling just as pissed off or upset as I did before. I love you, Mum. It's not your fault. So look, you have to choose who you're going to share your problems with. The other thing is, if you're in a relationship with somebody, are you constantly dumping on them? If they're a good listener, are you using them as a kind of dumping ground for your problems for the 10th time this month? Basically what I'm saying is, are you talking to somebody who is actually going to be able to help you? And that's usually either a really, really good friend who tells you the truth, or it's going to be somebody impartial, counselor, therapist, coach, that kind of thing. So, talking to your friends and family, it might give you some temporary relief, but it's not going to help you properly in the long run. The point about a therapist or a coach is that they're able to guide you through your stuff in a very supportive way, because they're not involved in your stuff. They are non-judgmental, for one thing, and they have no agenda. In other words, it doesn't matter to them how you resolve your problem as long as you resolve it. They've got nothing to gain from you choosing one or other path of action. Their only involvement is guiding you towards a positive difference, towards a positive change. The next thing to ask yourself is, why are you talking? Have you accidentally slipped into mindless complaining? And if you have, listen, we all do it. You are 100% forgiven. I do it. I've been working as a therapist for a long time and I still do it. But if you have just kind of slipped into a moan, just stop it as soon as you realize that that's what you're doing. Just, put a little stop sign in your head and say, right, I'm changing the subject. Because the only point in talking about your stuff is if it helps you to release it. So, making that conscious decision to at least attempt to resolve or release your issue before you start talking about it. And of course, when you've made that conscious decision, you are much more likely to choose the right person to talk to about it. And then the last point to remember is, are you listening? So what that means is, are you open to learning something new? Are you open to hearing something that you might not like to hear? Are you willing to change your mind about your issue? Actually, that is one of the biggest factors for successfully releasing any issue is, are you open-minded? Are you willing to hear something that might be uncomfortable but could really help you resolve your issue? Staying open to ideas that might challenge you, might challenge what you previously thought. And in order to do that, I'm not going to say that doesn't require courage. It does. And it requires you talking to somebody that you feel safe with, that you can trust. And it requires a ton of self-compassion. You've really got to be taking it so easy on yourself. Not so easy that you just tell yourself what you want to hear, but easy so that you love yourself for fucking up and getting things wrong, because you're a human. You will get things wrong. We all do. I do. You do. Everyone does. So those are your guidelines. Choose who you're talking to, choose why you're talking, and make a conscious decision to listen to the responses. And all of this does take bravery. And I know that you can do it by yourself, but I promise you it is so much easier, so much quicker with help. And you just have to ask. And then finally, after all that, just a final reminder that talking about your stuff is very useful because it satisfies the mind. But ultimately, I know you know this, you can't think your feelings, you've just got to feel them. So talking about it is very useful, but in the end, you are just going to have to allow yourself to feel your feelings in order for them to be released. That, to me, is real positivity. Being okay to talk about your stuff in order to release it, to feel your stuff in order to release it, and to work towards a positive resolution. There you go. What could be more positive than that? So, as ever, my love, I am here for you if you are ready to stop complaining and start releasing. Just get in touch and we can have a chat. And I'm sending you lots and lots of love. Big squeeze. Thanks for listening to Rowdy and Real with me, Sophie Shaw. This podcast is intended for educational and vaguely entertaining purposes and is not a replacement for counselling, psychotherapy or coaching. Please take responsibility for your mental health and ask for the help you need. You're fabulous and you deserve to be happy. If you'd like to stay in touch, then please visit norwichtherapy.co.uk and join the mailing list to receive a gorgeous free meditation straight into your inbox. And if you'd like to chat with me about your stuff, then please book yourself a free 30-minute call at sophieshaw.as.me/free call, and we'll start making a plan for your happiness. Bye.